Most killers spend years in court fighting their sentences, especially if they're given the death penalty. And even then, they spend years waiting on death row, but that's not the case with Wesley Allen Dodd. Dodd was an American sex offender and serial killer who molested a number of children over the years and killed 3 young boys in Vancouver, Washington in 1989, which he detailed in his diary that he kept, that police later found after he was caught for attempting to abduct a 6-year-old boy. He was found guilty and sentenced to death, and he didn't appeal. Instead, he actually requested to be hanged, making him the first person to be legally hanged since 1965. On January 5th, 1993, his last words were, "I was once asked by somebody, I don't remember who, if there was any way sex offenders could be stopped. I said no. I was wrong." Do you know who the most prolific US serial killer is? And no, it's not someone as infamous as Bundy or even the Green River Killer who used to hold the title. The FBI announced recently it's this man, Samuel Little. This occurred in 2019 when, after 650 hours of confessions, Little revealed he had killed 93 people. And although the FBI only confirmed 50 of those, they have no reason to believe he lied on any of the others. You're thinking, how did they get him? He was already in jail from 3 murders tied to him by DNA from the 1980s in LA. And when police came to question him in jail, he just started confessing. And not only that, he started drawing these images of women who he said when he was a drifter around the United States, he murdered. And some of these women haven't even been identified because he just chose victims he said nobody would miss. And the craziest part is he's still alive. He's 79 and serving 4 life sentences. Have you ever seen a photo on the internet that is just so horrifying? You wonder, can this story behind it possibly be true? Well, I'm here to debunk the most popular photos on the internet that people still think are real. One of the creepiest photos is of the Expressionless Woman, who, according to legend, in 1972 walked into Mount Sinai Hospital wearing a white gown covered in blood. And what was strange about her is she didn't have eyebrows, she didn't have an expression, and she looked like a mannequin. And if you're thinking, this is so creepy, it gets worse, because when they tried to sedate her, she fought back with unhuman strength. And then she smiled at the people and revealed, instead of teeth, she had sharp spikes in her mouth. And when someone asked, "What the hell are you?" she goes, "I am God." Luckily, the story is not true at all, and it's a total myth. There was no witnesses ever to have seen this woman. She's made up, but she still haunts the internet today. Home sweet home? Wrong. Some of the most heinous crimes have been committed inside these horrifying American murder houses. This is Ed Gein's house, and if you don't know who he is, he's the main inspiration behind Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. And how he decorated this house is with the skin and bones of the women he killed, as well as the graves he dug up. And this included a lampshade made of human flesh. This is the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, Louisiana. And in the 1800s, Madame Delphine LaLaurie allegedly tortured and killed a number of her slaves inside this house. This is the house of John Wayne Gacy in Chicago, Illinois. Also known as the Killer Clown, he murdered 33 young men and boys, and 29 of those bodies were found on his property. 26 of those were buried underneath his crawl space. This is a fascinating story of Aileen Wuornos, who's one of the most famous female serial killers, partly because of her erratic behavior and partly because, unlike other female killers, she didn't kill with poison or from afar. She got up close and personal and shot 7 men at point-blank range. Between December 1989 and September 1990, the bodies of several men were found along highways in North and Central Florida. At this time, Wuornos was a sex worker who would take jobs with these men only to shoot them and then rob them. She got caught because she left her fingerprints on some of the items that were pawned, and police were able to track them back to her. This is when her fame truly took off, because she immediately admitted to killing these men, although she would later contradict herself whether it was in self-defense or if it was in cold blood. And then 2 weeks after her arrest, she sold the movie rights to her story. She got the death penalty 6 times, and on October 9, 2002, she died by lethal injection.